everybody. I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just want to issue major spoiler alert. We are going to be going over everything that happened in episode 8 and 9 of the Agatha All Along series. So if you haven't watched those episodes yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to Disneyplus, check out both of those episodes, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show.
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, join with me to break down everything from the 2-episode finale of the Agatha All Along series. It's Jon Jon Rico.
There's no crying. There's no crying in witchcraft. Oh my gosh, that was fun.
There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
There's no crying in witchcraft.
What's up, my witches? I'm gonna take your catchphrase.
Yeah, that was good.
Or if we're going in character, we came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ghostbusters.
Nice.
Anyway, yeah. So we got our 2-episode finale, which
Sure did.
I think these were the longest episodes of the entire series. Like I looked at them and I was like, well, this is what I'm doing for the rest of the night when I get a chance. Not in a bad way either, because I loved every minute of both episodes. I enjoyed them, but I feel like they saved the longest episodes for the last two. And I liked that. I like not having like a little tiny episode and then having like a normal size episode. I like having kind of two larger episodes, kind of let things breathe throughout. It felt nice to have that. But jumping right into it, so we're gonna do this kind of how we always do, when we get the 2-episode premieres of seasons and stuff like that. So we're gonna do, instant reactions for episode 8, then some takeaways for episode 8, then we're gonna go to instant reactions for episode 9, takeaways for episode 9, and then predictions moving forward since the season is over. We don't know if the series is over and we're moving on to Vision Quest, or if we might get, another season and then move into Vision Quest. We're not sure after that ending. But getting right into it, it's really cool that we kind of figured out a big question about Rio and kind of her motivation, I guess. Like she was, doing some shady shit towards the end of the season and stuff like that. And we got a lot of kind of what she had been doing when she was off screen. By, kind of, number one, we got the scene where she was actually, helping Alice cross over. We got that scene. So we know where she was kind of the end of that episode when we first saw Billy use his powers for the first time. Because we were always, I was asking the question, where was Rio during that scene? But also now we kind of we know Rio's motivation for, wanting Billy, I guess. And it's more because Billy's essence jumped into a recently passed away William, like in his body. So Rio, being death, was supposed to be kind of taking that body away, and she didn't get to.
He took a death away from death, basically.
Right. But I'm kind of confused because he technically didn't, because William is not there anymore. He just kind of took William's body. He didn't take William's essence, you know what I mean? Like I was kind of that was the only thing I was a little bit confused about, because also another really weird thing that I feel like never got answered is if Rio basically said if she killed Billy, he would just reincarnate into another person, meaning that Billy can do whatever he wants at that point. He's like indestructible, right? Unless he willingly goes.
Right, and I think there was like that question brought up whether like he was responsible for almost like the death of the William, that like he's almost like he's kind of taking these lives so that he can kind of claim one for his own and stuff like that.
Right.
That's kind of the vibe I was getting from when Rio was saying that. But yeah, no, I almost wonder if maybe like Billy himself is like the soul that death is trying to claim, because he kind of cheated himself out of this death that he was supposed to have within like the WandaVision mindset that she had. So whatever his essence
Oh,
was, maybe. So
yeah.
maybe like that's why she wanted to claim him in that sense. But yeah, I thought that was a very interesting way just to kind of be like showing like why she wanted him in general. Yeah.
Right. But what were some of your instant? I mean, it's really interesting. I don't think there's like a
Mhm.
right or a wrong answer to that, because like I said, they kind of they gave us some, but they kind of kept it a little vague. We never kind of got a real clarification on if she was talking about like the fact that Billy's essence went into William's body, and she was like, it just needs to be, that, or if it was really Billy that she needed, like she wanted Billy's essence type of thing.
Mhm.
And so it's just like, yeah, it's really interesting. And one of the best things about kind of this is now we have time where, people are going to kind of look deeper and deeper into stuff, being that this is the end of the season. We're not going to have anything coming up like next week type of thing. So we can get theories and stuff with that, which I think will be really interesting. Moving on to other stuff too. Maria, what were some instant reactions for episode 8?
Yeah, this was, to me, this episode particularly felt like the true finale of like
Right.
the story that we embarked on the road itself in episode 2. And I thought like it definitely didn't disappoint. I honestly felt that episodes 7 and 8 to me were probably the strongest episodes of the entire series. Just because they gave us a lot of payoff to a lot of things that we invested in the episodes before. And I think it gave us some of the best acting performances of the series
Yeah.
to date. And even episode 9 did a great job of that too. But yeah, I think that the way that just the story just kind of built itself up episode by episode, it just got stronger and stronger and stronger every single time. So yeah, I was really glad that it just kind of like it just felt fulfilling by the time we got to this point into the story. Even for it even gave us like the classic kind of like Marvel showdown too, but it still had meaning behind it too. It wasn't just
Right.
like a pointless action battle. So I like that too. There was a lot of depth to it, and I really enjoyed that. But man, you brought it up just a little bit before, but at the opening scene, or one of the opening scenes, where we got to see Alice basically crossing over into like the other plane, basically, where with Death kind of ushering her in there. I thought that was a really great scene, and really just like a cool thing for Marvel just to kind of to touch on. And it reminded me of a couple years ago. It was a couple years now, I think, at this point, but when they did the Sandman series on Netflix, and they had this whole episode where Dream is following around his sister Death as she kind of ushers people over into the death phase of life. So it's just a really kind of a beautiful thing when they kind of touch on that kind of a thing, and it kind of puts that weird kind of like ease of mind when you kind of bring that subject up too, because you're almost like, wow, this is pretty like deep stuff that makes you like kind of thought provoking stuff there. But yeah, I like the way that this version of Death too, like the way she kind of comes off as kind of kooky and crazy at times, and almost like kind of chaotic. But she also has like that same side that we saw in the Sandman Death, where she's also kind of like compassionate as well, as leading them into that fine mode. Because there's part of her, I think, that doesn't want to do it at times too, but it's just what she has to do as a Green Witch. So yeah, I think it's a really cool way to kind of tackle the again the concept of the Death character. I always think it's really cool when movies or TVs kind of tackle this kind of Grim Reaper character in different ways than we're probably used to thinking of it in normal everyday life.
Yeah, and I mean, just agreeing absolutely with what you're talking about. She, Aubrey Plaza plays this character so well, because
Oh man,
when we get her interacting, with the like early in the season, just with like the rest of the coven and stuff like that. Yeah,
Mhm.
she's like this wild card. Like you don't know
Yeah.
what she's gonna do, but she's
Got
like
the crazy eyes.
Yeah.
We call the crazy eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. But yeah, when we get her in that scene where she is kind of, ushering Alice over, she kind of does have that, that calm, that compassion sound like in her voice and stuff, and saying like you passed away protecting someone. You were a
Right.
protection witch, and you died protecting someone. You did your job. Like
Yeah, exactly.
you fulfilled your life, that type of thing. Like, and hopefully that gave Alice a little bit of solace. We didn't really, I mean, she kind of agreed to go with her after that, but like hopefully, you know, she was like, okay, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Like,
And when they showed that shot of them kind of like walking into the you know, into the light, basically, first thing that made me think of is obviously I'm getting a lot of like references to Love and Thunder, because obviously there's the statue of death in that, but there's also the post credit scene, of course, where we get Jane in kind of in Valhalla, basically.
Yeah.
So I wonder like what kind of version of like Death's plane of like what at the afterlife is like where is she taking her essentially? Is it like an underworld type deal? Is it like yeah, so it started getting my brain stirring a bunch of different directions as far as like how Marvel could expand upon that next phase too.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. You want to get to some big takeaways?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna kick up big takeaways with basically two statements. I mean, the first one is, holy fucking shit, we got Billy in his full-on Wiccan, you know, outfit.
We did.
I was not expecting that. I thought that was awesome. Like,
yeah. It was cool.
Genuinely, like, was like, holy shit! Like when when he appeared in it, I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I want. He looks incredible. Like,
yeah, I wonder where he got it.
So do I. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if it's a thing, like if it like kind of just appears.
Like Scarlet Witch's outfit. Yeah,
yeah.
We just manifest. Yeah, because hey, it's like that slick like superhero like material looking stuff too. Like that looks professionally made.
Right.
Yeah,
it looked so good. It was such a cool like
it was great
extra thing to have there. But also another scene where I actually audibly gasped. I was genuinely shocked that Agatha helped Billy. Like, genuinely shocked. Like, because I thought this whole time, like, even when she was like, I'm gonna help you get out of here. I'm gonna help you find Tommy. All of that. I was like, oh, this is the long con. This is Agatha still. This is the long con. And then we're in the backyard and all of this is happening and she basically gives him over. I'm like, see, I knew it. I knew that exactly that was going to happen. And then we get the telepathy conversation or the telepathic conversation between Billy and Agatha. And
is this how Nikki died?
He just said, is this how Nikki passed away? Type of thing.
Yeah, he kind of pulled that thread there.
Yeah, and I mean, she did it. She was like, "You're right," but I was genuinely shocked in that moment because, like, up until then, I was like, I knew it. I knew she was gonna like this is Agatha. We're not getting that turn. Like, this is Agatha. She's gonna betray type of thing. I even when he showed back up, I was like, was this all just like a fake thing, like as part of her con to get Billy? Yeah, like the whole time. But yeah. So I was like, they did a perfect job at like
bait and switch on you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I was up and down with that the whole time. So I was like, oh my god, she's helping him, and then I was like, no, wait, maybe she's not. and then he comes back and he helps her, and she stops. Like she doesn't suck all of his power. And I was like, oh, wait, she actually is helping him. And then she turns him. I was like, oh.
Like she thinks about it for a little bit too. And then she's like, all right, clap.
It was a roller coaster ride. I was like, my emotions.
That to me was the most tension, more so than like the little fake out. Was like wondering if she was actually going to like give in to her word and actually like cut off the power there. But thank God she did.
Well, I knew they were going to, Billy wasn't going to go out like that.
Right.
I knew that part was going to happen. Like whether if Rio interrupted it somehow or what. Because, I mean, as we learned earlier, if she had killed Billy, like by sucking all of his power out, he would have regenerated or reincarnated somewhere else.
I figured there were going to be some way they would just undo it. They would bait and switch us that way.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't as worried in that moment, because I was like, I thought maybe Rio was gonna like hit her with something to interrupt the process type of thing. Like that's honestly what I thought was gonna happen. But yeah, that roller coaster they gave us was genuinely good. It was great. It was perfect. No notes. But Rico, what were some of your big takeaways for episode 8?
Yeah, and that whole sequence back at like at Agatha's house with the whole green cloud sequence. I just first of all, one of my favorite low key funny moments is when they do the shot of the neighbors and they're just like, "It's happening again, isn't it?" And they're like, "Yeah."
Yep.
They're like, "We've gone through different like these different clouds and different colors all the time now." Oh my god, it was just so good. And then I'll bring up another funny moment later on, but yeah, another thing, because we were talking about, seeing the compassionate side of death with the Alice scene, right? We also saw that chaotic side in that big showdown scene too.
We did.
She does the full witch cackle on top of the roof when we get to see her in like her full garb and everything, and I thought that was just great. And and again, seeing her and Agatha just kind of go head to head, both in their full kind of witch garb, it's just awesome. And yeah, but again, all roads lead back to death, right? And like I love that, like the end of this road just was essentially just a showdown with them. And I think I said it last week too. I had a feeling that it was going to lead to Agatha giving herself to death in
Yep.
some way for Billy. And I do like the way that she kind of spins it later on, where she would just go like, "I made a calculated decision." Like, there's no way she was gonna like give in and say that she did something nice for Billy.
Right.
But yeah, I just thought that was a really like powerful scene to when, because of course when Billy kind of telekinetically gets in their head, and telepathically, sorry, for so that was really cool because almost like he was like really just, like struggling to break in, and then he finally gets through.
Yeah.
So that was really cool, and it made me kind of excited to see like another telepath, like someone like Charles Xavier later on, when however they handle his powers. But yeah, I like the way they kind of tugged at that little heartstring, and it led to this really fulfilling moment. But the scene of her kind of just giving herself to death, and when she finally falls, it's just is beautiful. I think it's a really well done scene. But one of the shots I really loved was when she's finally on the ground, her body just turns like into the scale. The way they kind of pan up to her body and she turns into this flower bed. I just thought that was a really great job of just kind of just showing this transition of her going from one phase of life to the next, right? And just like we saw with Alice later on, this was kind of the way that that death kind of ushered her in, making her the beautiful bed of flowers in her garden and stuff like that. Like, I forget what she said, what kind of like thing she wanted to be in her garden later earlier in the episode. Is kind of funny. But we also got another great shot because after that happens, we get that like beautiful like kind of like a sunrise moment, like the clouds depart and it's like nice and sunny again. But we get a great shot of Aubrey Plaza Death's face, in the skull form, but with the sunlight on it. And I thought that was the best shot probably of like her face yet, because like a couple of times they kind of do like these like quick changes to it, and it looks very kind of like almost like a layered CGI over here. Like, that looks kind of interesting how they're doing that. But this was like a really good, like almost like a really detailed shot of like how she looks in her death form, and we get to hear her in her death voice too when she tells Billy that he can go. Yeah, so I thought that was like that was one of my favorite scenes probably of the entire series. But it was followed up by one of the another hilarious moment to me, because we were talking about Billy making his entrance in his Wiccan costume. He flew in, he looked all badass, but then he walks out of Agatha's house and he gets in the car and leaves. I'm like, why didn't you just fly out? It's just kind of funny. Like he's walking in, all the neighbors are like, oh, that kid's from he's from the little ruckus over there, and then he just kind of like does a little sad walk to his car and then drives off. I'm like, that's kind of funny. Like, wait, so he drove here and then like flew up and then made his so maybe he's only got like a limit of how far he can like get in there, So I got a nice little chuckle out of the end, but after a pretty beautiful moment. So but to me it was really, really funny.
Yeah. And I mean, number one, yes, I absolutely agree with you that was hilarious. That leads pretty much perfectly into my instant reactions for episode 9. So you want to dive into episode 9?
Let's do it.
Very cool. All right. So episode 9, first reactions. I gotta say, I love Ghost Agatha.
Yeah.
As soon as she pops in, like we hear her voice at the end of episode 8, and we know something's afoot.
Yeah, it's weird that the captions like try to make it like a mysterious voice, and I was like, that's clearly Agatha that I just heard laughing. And then later on, they do the same thing, and they just say it's Agatha laughing. I was like, okay.
Well, I guess maybe originally they didn't know what the spacing was going to look like, so maybe they originally were like, if episode 8 ends and then we have a 1 episode finale, we don't want to completely throw it away, but like when we're playing it at the very beginning of episode 9, then. Then we can do it. But Yeah, that was the biggest thing I wanted to say for episode 9. I love Ghost Agatha. I think she's perfect as like a spirit guide, a companion.
Force Ghost.
Yeah, Force Ghost. It kind of works perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got a lot of really cool reveals in this episode. So I don't want to take away from anything like when we get more into them in our takeaways and predictions, stuff like that. So that's what I'm going to stick to is I need some more Forced Ghost Agatha moving forward at some point. But Rico, what were some of your instant reactions for episode 9?
Yeah, this one. So, like I said, the last episode to me kind of just felt like the big like finale that we were building up to from the story that we had been watching the entire time. This was definitely like the epilogue to me. Like,
Right.
how does everything kind of wrap up in a nice little bow, and what can we possibly like tease going on from here, right? So, I think it handles that really well. We get really a touching Agatha story here that I think was some of her great. Catherine Hahn's best acting work, I think, in the series. She was great the entire season, whether it was comedically, but I think as far as like her dramatic work and some of her more kind of like heartwarming stuff, I think that it was some of her best work that I've seen her do yet. And it just shows how great of an actor that she is in general. But yeah, I love Ghost Agatha. Oh man, those are real like tongue twisters, right? Ghost Agatha as well. But yeah, to me, totally. First thing I was like, oh, nice, we get like Marvel Force Ghosts now. This is really dope. But also, getting to see her in her nice, like in the white gray hair, like looking like the comic book Agatha Harkness, which I think is pretty cool because when you look at the differences between the characters on screen and in the comics, you're like, oh, that's what they chose her to play that. She almost looks kind of like, I would say, like the Aunt May from the very first Spider-Man movies. That's how kind of like older, like Agatha kind of looks. She just kind of looks like, just like an old witch lady. And so yeah, we get to see her now, and she's got the white hair, so she kind of can more embrace that more comic book accurate look. And that's one of the things that these shows usually do a great job of is by the end of the season, we're usually seeing characters build up to their and lately very comic accurate looks, because I think they've been doing a great job of actually like sticking to what we're used to seeing on the page as well. And yeah, so this was a pretty good look for that. She's got her purple outfit with the white hair and everything, and she's got the cool little like jewel amulet. Yeah, and I think and also Billy looks great with his like the red scarf deal and all that. Looks exactly like he does in the comics as well. So yeah, I just like that we're kind of getting that, and that's something we can move forward with those characters.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and like I said, we got this being like I had the exact same reaction when I finished episode 8 and it was about to click play next episode. I was like, well, what's gonna happen next?
Right.
Like,
I was like, well, I feel like I ate a nice meal. What's next? Dessert? Like
right. And I mean, they offered us a really good dessert. Like, I mean, I got no complaints about what we got. But yeah, we got a lot of reveals kind of in this. We got you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna get into one. You know what? Why don't we get into takeaways? You want?
Yeah, let's do that.
Awesome. All right. Why don't you kick off big takeaways?
Okay. I really wanted to just talk about my overall appreciation for the show's prioritizing strong storytelling over like just kind of a show filled with like CG witch action fest stuff. Like we could have done a whole thing where they were spending the entire witch row of just fighting off the Salem 7 one by one. They had to pick them off, and it's just like, okay, here they are, they're fighting one Salem 7 person, and then we move on to the next one to fight that. No, they made them like really good personal journeys for each witch that has something to do with like the character's past, and then made you invest in each one as you went along. And that was and for a show that doesn't have a massive budget too, you can definitely tell they're like in a lot of shots of these, they really maximize what they can do with the shot, because it's either like a lot of close uptight shots of the actors with a lot of like flashing lights to insinuate a lot of the effects going on, as opposed to like these big wide shots where you get to show like the scope of their power and stuff like that. Like you can feel the scope of the power with the way that they in their performance essentially. So I think that's one of the things I think is really good when you have a low budget story thing. You have to prioritize your storytelling and having good costumes and good sets. Like I think the way they even utilize the kind of like the cheap looking sets within, I think either this episode or last episode, where it shows like was it Death cutting the curtain of like one of the
episode
backdrops.
8. Yeah,
episode 8. Yeah, that was episode 8. Yeah. But yeah, doing stuff like that, it's just like really cool and creative stuff to do, even when they're doing the pop culture with stuff. And you have even like when you're designing things like Billy's room and all the stuff that like has to go into setting up the story within Billy's room itself when we get that whole thing, right? So that's all great. It's like, yeah, so costume, makeup, set design. I think those are like really the underrated stars of the series, and really were instrumental in telling a really great story. Even what you had the first episode when you have Agatha kind of breaking out of her shell with all the different versions of her, and then in this one when they're showing her going through all the different eras of her witchcraft stuff, and all the different eras of time that she went through, and all, I imagine all the inspirations of different things that they went by to get those costumes and stuff. So yeah, it was a really fun. The show's a lot of fun to look at as much as it is to just kind of like absorb the story. So yeah, I just grew an appreciation overall for those kind of things as the show went on.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, they did a really good job of, just like you said, making use with absolutely everything that they had,
Right.
type of thing, to make a good series and to make a good story, and then to make it work with not like giant CGI sets and everything like that. I think it was great. I think everything enhanced the story itself, and I think everything was very purposeful what they had, which was
Exactly.
great.
Nothing was wasted. Everything
Right.
had some kind of purpose.
Exactly. And you kind of already started kind of leading into it, but one of the big kind of reveals, at least one of the bigger ones that I saw was, and I mean, I guess, boom, big reveal. We find out in this episode that it was Agatha and her son Nicholas who kind of created the ballot of the Witch's Road, but then it's Agatha who then creates the mystery of the Witch's Road as a real thing to kind of take other witches' powers, which was kind of has been like a running theory like for a really long time. Was
the ultimate scam that she's
it's the biggest. It was all a big scam. Like
it was Agatha all along. Yeah, exactly.
I kind of wish part of me was like, do you think the end credits are gonna have the Agatha All Along song? Like, I just wanted to pull that music back in just a little bit, just as like an outro type of thing. But yeah, I thought, I mean, like I said, there were a lot of reveals in episode 9, which was cool. Like to have, extra. We didn't just end on the action, of episode 8. We got, like you said, a kind of a proper epilogue. We got, stuff that enhanced, Agatha's story and beginning, and we saw all this cool stuff about Nicholas Scratch, and why this whole everything kind of got set into motion basically, because I don't know if Agatha would have ever done exactly the Witch's Road thing had Nicholas Scratch not passed away, type of thing. Like she was still already taking witches' powers, but I think the Witch's Road thing would have just stayed like a song between her and Nicholas at that point. But yeah, I mean, we get to see kind of all of these things that we've kind of looked at as breadcrumbs throughout this whole series, and kind of just shed more like different light to everything, which was cool, which was really cool to have kind of as a wrapping up thing.
And the way it gets get turned on her own head too, when Billy finds out that he made the road himself.
That's the other big reveal.
That's kind of like when it shows like that again, the montage of her going through the time, and it comes to the season 2 episode where they do it in her basement, and she looks down like, what the hell, this door is not supposed to be here. It was a really it made the whole making the titles of the episodes all with lyrics of the song, which shows the meaning of the song itself, and even like just to the point where like you felt like you're getting sick of hearing the song a little bit in each episode, even though they're all different versions of it. They hit you with like the gut punch of like how the song came to be. And you're just
how it originally was.
Damn it. Okay, now I understand like the whole thing of it, and it's just like, damn, well done. Like they had this all like thought of from the start, and it's just like again, it's just good payoff, I think. Yeah.
Also, what's even crazier is, remember somebody, I was not smart enough to catch this the first time, so I watched a video like just scrolling through TikTok. I really don't even remember who it was at this point, because I've watched so many reaction videos. There is a scene, and I can't remember what episode it is. It is when they're in the 70s attire, where Agatha is arguing with somebody about one of the lyrics. And it's Coven of Two or something is what Agatha says, and the other person says it's Coven of True or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she kind of just lets it go. But we know for real, because Agatha and Nicholas wrote the song, that she really knows the lyrics, and it is a Coven of Two because it was those two type of thing.
Yeah, there's so many things looking back on this show that are gonna be so cool. Like in episode 8, when we get the payoff of one of Lilia's final warnings. When she says this thing,
coward,
duck. When she says coward, duck, and that happens, just like, dang, that's just like that they're able to kind of like weave these threads and make it all one big, complete painting. Is just like, it was really well crafted.
Yeah,
well witchcrafted.
Hey,
yeah, there you go.
But I feel like because of the way this episode went, like we could sit here and talk for like a half an hour going, oh, that part was really cool. And it ties back to this other part. The rewatch value now, like I almost want to have like another complete watch through and just be like all the little teeny tiny things that now make more sense in context with what we just got in this episode. And even episode 8 is like, it's so cool because it can give us like this cool rewatch experience now. Like we can see everything. And like things that like people were like, that was weird she reacted like that. Like when, like you said, we got the flash of episode 2 originally when she opens the doors in the basement and she had that weird look on her face. And it was because now we know that Billy was the one who actually created, manifested a real Witch's Road. And Agatha was genuinely surprised. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and we now know the line where Agatha goes, "You and your mother both have the same tell," is that they both can unknowingly create things,
create realities.
That they're unaware of, because Billy wasn't aware until this episode that he created everything. He created the Witch's Road. Oh, it was
the scope of his power is going to be very interesting to explore.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. It's so interesting. You want to get to some predictions?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to kick off predictions. I mean, it's not even, I don't even have a bold prediction. I don't have anything except that I really want more. Like, I don't know however this continues, a special presentation with kind of more of Ghost Agatha and Wiccan, or if we get a season 2, and we were kind of talking about this before we started recording. You thought what would be cool is if we got a season 2, if it was titled like Adventures of Wiccan or something like that, because we've kind of handed off the torch whereas, when we started this series, Agatha was pretty much the main character. And that's what it was marketed as it was marketed as Agatha is the main character and this is what we're going to get. But it transitioned to Billy's the main character. And so by the end, like if we have a season 2, it should be titled around Wiccan or Billy or whatever they want to kind of title it, because now he is the main character. Ghost Agatha can still be there as the spiritual guide, Force Ghost, something like that. But he is now more the main character, which is interesting. And I kind of just want more. I want more of that. But yeah, like that's, I don't really have any prediction. I mean, there's kind of no other, like we can either, lead right into Vision Quest or we can get a season 2 of this. And I just want more in general. I am really happy with, the way this ended, and I would really like to see more. But Rico, what are some of your predictions, I guess, moving forward?
That's I was pretty much gonna say the same thing. What I was gonna say, this felt like we were pretty much gonna see, like, do we want to do a Wiccan series or just do like an Agatha show on top of that? And that's exactly what they kind of did. I think that's why they kind of made him like a second protagonist of the show. And it was kind of like a testing of the waters to see, like, if we want to do a Wiccan show, now we can see if people really like the character, and see if people are drawn to a character or an actor like Joe Locke, who's playing the role right now. So yeah, I think that's something they can definitely explore. Because I don't think you can have Agatha be the main protagonist of this series as a ghost, because there's not really much that she can go up against at that point. She's kind of fulfilled her journey in her character arc. But now she's kind of like the Obi-Wan Force Ghost for the new Luke, the new Luke witch that is Billy. Billy Skywalker the witch. So
he does have blue magic power.
Like, so you could definitely. Yeah, absolutely. You could definitely explore that in a possible season 2. Again, this feels like a Halloween type show, so you would have to kind of get the turnaround going pretty quick if you wanted to get everyone back and then shoot again and get out for next year. But also like if and also you can bring a character back like Jennifer, who had a really great ending for herself, and just she was one of the only witch of the coven other than Billy that got like a happy ending, and even Agatha got like a somewhat happy ending too. But yeah, that was just a really a beautiful shot of her coming out of the ground and just kind of realized that she could just fly, and she flies out kind of the same way that Wanda did at the end of WandaVision too. So I thought that was just a really a great shot and a great scene. It made me wonder like where's she going? Like I told you this in last night after I watched the episode, like that there's no shot she's going back to selling like those little goop jewels again, those little crystals or whatever it is, the candles, the edible candles. But yeah, I imagine that like that there's something that you could explore out there with that. By the time we see Billy and Agatha again, she's out established like a new thing going on with her alchemy and stuff like that, is like with her witchcraft. So that'd be a lot of fun to explore. Or if you wanted to find a way to like kind of tie all these stories into the Vision Quest show, which I think would be pretty great. We were also saying that we were like, whoa, no post credit scene, huh? I would have like a post credit scene that would have set up Vision in some form, at least, like whether it was showing that like Sword or something like that was still keeping tabs on him, and even like they even knew that what was going on in Westview still with Agatha. That would be kind of an interesting, like we had like some surges going on in Westview, but it had nothing to do with like what Wanda's type of energies. Like I would like some kind of big kind of like tie in there to kind of go big picture with it. But yeah, that would have been a really cool little thing, because now I don't know what they're going to do with the Vision Quest series. I imagine I keep thinking it's going to be some kind of like a the way that this was kind of like a mother son kind of a thing with Agatha, Billy, and Wanda and all that. I almost want Vision's thing to be like a father son thing, but with him and Ultron. So I think that'd be some. That would be
I did
some.
not
kind
know
of,
we were going to go that direction.
Yeah, I wanted to see them go with some pretty crazy stuff right there. But if they also are going to bring in like the whole Billy and Tommy stuff with that as well, like I don't know if they want to like tie in that story. So yeah, I don't know what's going to go on, because it feels like this is like a WandaVision trilogy in some sorts. But
well, that's how they're kind of saying it. The actor that plays Vision also said, like in a recent interview, that he was really liking the Agatha All Along series, and he's really excited to kind of get the third act.
It's always going to have some Wanda tie-in as well, because that's obviously just a major part of Vision's arc. But I think just exploring that part of his past, I think you're gonna have to explore some issues that he's got with the Ultron aspect as well. So I think it's gonna be very interesting to kind of watch that dynamic, and especially with this like whole White Vision character too, because who knows, like if he's still working on his little bit of attachment issues, how he's still working his mind back and stuff. So does he know about Tommy and Billy, this version of him still? So that's gonna be a fun thing to kind of explore.
Yeah, absolutely. I just like how last night I knew immediately when you finished this episode and after you have sat through all the credits, because I got angry text messages from you. What? No post-credit scene?
Yeah. Like I did the thing where I scroll my fast thing. I'm looking for like the thumbnail that shows it going. I'm like, nothing.
Right. I sat there and just was like, yeah, this is all right. I'll just watch the
soon as like the little thumbnail thing pops up, I'm like, oh dang it.
I already told you what would have made this, like if I got everything I wanted, like I got a lot of what I wanted out of the series, just in general. Like I got a lot. Okay, so I'm not complaining anyway. But if I got like one little thing extra, would have been everything. And I just wanted the mid-credit / post-credit scene to be Tommy waking up somewhere. It wouldn't even have to give us like where he was, who he was in general. It could have been like on the bottom half of his face, just him waking up saying Billy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, could have been really close, tight in shot. That's it. That's all.
I think there should have been some form of Tommy in this series. I think they ultimately should have gotten to Tommy, but yeah, I think we should have gotten him in some form for sure.
Yeah. Maybe they just haven't casted him yet. Like they were feeling it out to make sure everybody was cool with Wiccan, and now they're like, all right, everybody fucking loves Wiccan. Like let's do this like now, like type of thing. Like, I'm hoping. I mean, from everything that I've seen, a lot of people really enjoyed this series. I really enjoyed it personally, but
people like both the twin boys too. So I think this
yeah.
is went all in on both, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, the problem is like, they write this so long ago and they film it so long. You know what I mean? Like they put they have to make sure that like testing the waters.
I'm saying he should have been written in. That's what I'm saying. Like the story should have led to him, in my opinion.
I see.
For sure.
I just hope, like, do we have a definite date when Vision Quest is coming out? Like, do we actually have time to have like a season 2/Wiccan miniseries?
I'm sure they could turn this around pretty quick as far as getting the people, because you don't have to go through the whole casting process. You could just bring, unless you're, except for bringing in new people, of course. But the Vision Quest show doesn't start filming until next year. That Paul Bettany said so.
Yeah, so technically
that'll come out in 2026.
Okay, so technically, if they wrote a second, or if they were already in a process of writing, whether it be a miniseries or a season 2 or a Wiccan series, they could have at least the writing finished so that Vision Quest could react to that before filming, type of thing. Because if that is technically going to be kind of the third act of this type of thing, all they would really need to do, even if they had to film it type of thing in conjunction with it, would have to know what was going to happen in a season 2 of this, to be able to kind of make sense and film around it.
Right.
So basically, you're saying there's a chance.
I really hope they have Jack Schaefer involved, who was the writer on both WandaVision and Agatha all along, because I think she's probably seems to be like a really key thread in all this. That she'll help. I've seen that she's actually set to work on the Vision Quest series too, which is great. Cool. So I think knowing that she's involved, there's going to be some interesting tie-ins. Oh no! Yeah, there's going to be that she departed the project. That could also be a thing too. Yeah, that just happened literally last month. So yeah, who knows? That could also just be like they've already written it, and whatever rewrites that are going to happen aren't going to have her with them. But yeah,
keep everybody posted.
She's had input, at least we know that much. Right. So that's a big thing. Knowing that that there's definitely going to be some crossover there between those projects. So I'm curious to see how that's going to be executed.
Yeah, not only that, I'm excited for Vision Quest. I'm also excited to see, but I'm also excited, to see if we're going to see, Aubrey Plaza's death like pop up anywhere else in another MCU project.
Yeah.
Or where Wiccan's going to be. I mean, we still always are getting these rumblings of Young Avengers, which has Wiccan on the team. Just saying. And we have a lot of them already introduced. I mean, we have Kate Bishop, we have Miss Marvel, we have Wiccan now. We had we don't have Hulkling, but we have what was Bruce's son's name?
Scar.
We do have Scar, so I mean we do have like a younger Hulk.
Yeah, Hulkling, I believe, is a Skrull too, which I always find is like the confusing thing about his name, because he's got like a Hulk-like features in the books, but he's supposed to be a Skrull, and we haven't gotten that young Skrull kid. But they're all young Skrulls out there, so I think Hulkling could still be out there.
What if we got who was the royalty Skrull from Secret Invasion, who Emily Clark played?
I can't remember her name. Yeah, but I can't remember her name.
I can't remember her name either. But what I'm saying is, like, what if she was a fill-in, like for that role type of thing? She could
maybe.
She's got all the power.
It has to be a dude though, because Billy is if Hulkling is.
Billy already has a boyfriend now. Like,
he can't. That boy can't handle no witch. Come on, he's got little arms. You see what I'm saying?
But anyway, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of the 2-episode, hopefully, season finale of the Agatha All Along series? And where do you think we're going to see these characters pop up next? Do you think we're going to get, a follow-up season, whether it's still titled Agatha All Along or whether it's titled something, something with Wiccan before we get the Vision Quest, or are we going to roll right into Vision Quest? And as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Popping Off presents That Recap Show.